Yo, what it do, YouTube? It's Trail247 back with another motherfucking video. I ain't gonna lie, but you gonna watch this video on how Joe Rogan doesn't know who he is anymore about Patrick CC. I ain't gonna lie, I used to watch Joe Rogan podcast back in the days. You gotta see what
his podcast trying to become one of the most influential men on the planet. He seemed like an authentic dude who was just famous enough to get access to extraordinary people, but his platform may have gotten too big and too valuable for the elites to ignore. What started as casual conversations with comedians and weirdos turned into serious conversations with billionaires and politicians. For over a decade, fans felt like they really understood Joe. But these days, he has become the exact thing he used to hate about modern media, which has resulted in...
Yeah, and it's crazy, because I used to think, like, he was a Democrat. I used to think Joe Rogan was, like, a Democrat, but he just wanted people to have freedom of speech and shit. But it's like, as soon as he got that Spotify deal, he just went straight
millions
Republican.
Of his viewers checking out. His podcast has dropped from #1 in the world to #5 and could continue to go down. However, anyone who's been watching for a while knows this didn't happen overnight. There were actually 6 key decisions that he made that slowly turned Joe Rogan into a shell of what he used to be. The first sign that everything was about to change for the worse was in 2020 when Joe Rogan signed an exclusive licensing deal with Spotify, reportedly worth
I just said that, bro. I literally just said that, bro. It's like before he signed the Spotify deal, that's when he just had he had random guests on. He had people that was on that was just funny as hell. It's crazy because it's like you could watch a video from him. It'll be funny as hell. Like he'll have some crazy dude up there, and then next thing you know, he'll have scientists up there telling you how the world works and how everything. It's crazy, bro. Like
100 million.
Now it's like so scripted and so right wing, like
dollars. Now this was life-changing money that most people would understandably take without hesitation, but it would cause a ripple effect that would slowly change Rogan's reputation forever. The first thing that came with the new deal was censorship. Spotify deleted 113 episodes or 300 hours of content from the JRE library. Some of those episodes included conversations with comedians like Joey Diaz, Brazilian mixed martial artists Rickson Gracie, and notorious conspiracy theorists like Brian Dunning and Alex Jones. It felt like a slap in the face to the fans because the wide variety of guests was what made the show so interesting. Sometimes JRE was genuinely educational, with scientists, doctors, or journalists having deeply nuanced conversations you couldn't get anywhere else.
While we're on this subject of subatomic particles and weirdness, I want to, if you could, illuminate this often misused explanation for the observer effect.
Other times it was Rogan joking around with comedians and telling stupid stories.
And I was making like a nice smoothie and I'm cupped up, I'm partying, you know, I'm living high on the hog. Dude, I thought I heard something outside, right? So I leave out of my apartment to go in the hallway, lock myself out with the blender going. 2:30 in the morning, up out of my brain, right? Now I have to go to my landlord, dude, who lives right down the hall.
But the most important thing was that absolutely nothing was off limits, no matter how ridiculous it seemed.
Yeah, that's what made it funny. Like, you would have somebody like him on one day, the dude, crazy dude with the mullet, talking about how he was coked up out of his mind. Then you'll have a scientist on telling you about some good shit. Like, it's crazy. Like, it was unpredictable.
Guy asked me the other day if I wanted to have someone who's a flat Earth proponent. Is apparently the best arguer for a flat Earth.
Come on, I want to hear that. I want to hear that argument. What can they possibly say? Of course it's strong, but the one thing that's weird is you would think with all the satellites we have going in and out of our solar system, how come there's no pictures of the Earth and like the sun over here?
There are so many pictures of the Earth.
Google.
Back then, you could feel Rogan's curiosity through the screen. There was no agendas, no hidden messages, just an authentic guy trying to chat with interesting people. JRE had a similar appeal as a late-night talk show, except these conversations lasted 3 hours and instead of a few minutes. Plus, it didn't feel like a polished corporate product. It felt like you were sitting in the room with an interesting guest and you could count on Joe to keep the conversation fresh and engaging with good questions.
People that are listening to this are probably going, what is gauge symmetry, dude? You just passed over that and you said it was crazy.
Okay,
is there a way that you could possibly just give
I'll try.
a small synopsis?
Sure,
Okay.
we'll try. We'll see how we do.
Even when political topics were discussed, especially when there were disagreements, the conversations remained level-headed and cordial, which is why Spotify removing Joe's content seemed like an obvious sign of corporate censorship. But Rogan vehemently disagreed with that.
Right, but listen, me on the outside reading these articles,
Yeah.
like, oh my God, Spotify's censoring Rogan, Spotify's doing this.
It's not happening.
Spotify has said nothing. Nothing.
Yeah.
They haven't said anything to my manager.
Right.
They haven't said anything to me. In
Why
terms
do they
of
got
them
him talking
silencing
like
me,
this?
zero.
Right.
There's been nothing.
This is ironic because just a few years before, Rogan heavily criticized YouTube for deleting and demonetizing right-wing political content.
It's dangerous towards the marketplace of free ideas. The marketplace of ideas is extremely important. And I would think that if anybody would know that, it would be the people that are involved in tech. They're just so wrapped up in the progressive mindset.
Ultimately, the Spotify deal had more positives than negatives. JRE remained the top podcast in the world, and now he was filthy rich. But the second key decision he made was moving his entire business and family from Los Angeles to Austin, Texas. At the time, it seemed like a completely normal decision. Plenty of wealthy people were leaving LA for Texas. Lower taxes, similar warm weather, and a city like Austin still offered the creative environment someone like Joe Rogan would want. But looking back,
I think he moved because he signed that deal, and after he signed the deal, it was kind of like, I can't be around all of the, because California's a blue state. He wanted to be in a red state.
Relocated, the version of Rogan people thought they knew started to disappear. But real quick, let's say you're about to board a plane and you notice one of the engines is smoking. There's a good reason why you wouldn't trust that plane. Just like there's a good reason why Morgan & Morgan / Patrick that were run by those who believed in herd immunity, or hesitant to shut down businesses to stop the spread. Rogan had justified leaving California for a number of reasons, but it seemed like the pandemic was roughly his 13th reason why.
And what's the story? You moving?
I'm out of here. Yeah.
When do you leave?
Soon. Yeah.
Texas or?
Yeah, I'm going to go to Texas. I just want to go somewhere in the center of the country, somewhere it's easier to travel to both places, and somewhere where you have a little bit more freedom. Also, I think that where we live right here in Los Angeles is overcrowded. When you look at the number of people that are catching COVID because of this overpopulation issue, when you look at the traffic, when you look at the economic despair, when you look at the homelessness problem that's accelerated radically, I think there's too many people here. I think it's not tenable. I don't think it's manageable.
Unfortunately for Joe, mainstream media outlets were quick to interpret his move as him adopting a right-wing identity. Not only was he going to save millions of dollars in taxes, but his skepticism of the effectiveness of vaccines, along with the general distrust of COVID data, made it seem like he was leaving liberal Hollywood for the heart of red state America. But at this point, most of his fan base still saw him as an open-minded and reasonable guy, and they believed that the media was forcing a political identity onto him that simply wasn't there. Regardless, Rogan moved, built a new horrifically ugly podcast set, and consistently tried to convince his buddies to move to
I ain't gonna lie, I did not like this setup when he switched to this, bro.
Austin.
I gotta save LA first, and then I want to go work with Bill and Melinda Gates for a while, and then I will come to Austin.
You can't save LA.
I know. We'll see.
But an issue that Joe seemed to underestimate was how being in LA allowed him to vastly outcompete other podcasts. The intellectuals and entertainers he had on his show either already lived in SoCal or frequently traveled there for business. And while Austin is still a major city, it simply isn't the same kind of cultural hub that attracts the wide variety of guests that made JRE feel so unpredictable and valuable. Another glaring issue was that Austin simply did not have an iconic comedy scene like LA. Many people forget, or choose to ignore, that Joe's first career path in entertainment was stand-up comedy, making him almost a 40-year veteran in the industry. No matter how rich and famous he got, he still spent many of his weeknights at comedy clubs in LA practicing his craft, which is why he immediately got to work building his own comedy club on 6th Street called the Comedy Mothership. By 2023, the construction was finally finished, and he felt that his background as a comedian would make the Mothership a total success.
This is the spot. lot. It's just different than any other place we've ever been to. But it's also the only place that I've ever worked at where a comic ran it. Like a comic built it. It's also people that recognize there's a new scene here. So there's like this energy to that, and they want to come experience it.
At the same time, stand-up comedy was becoming more publicly scrutinized than ever. Comedians were constantly being criticized or canceled for jokes about race, gender, or other marginalized groups.
I remember when they went hard on Dave Chappelle about that.
Joe often touted stand-up, particularly in Austin, as the last place with true free speech.
Yeah, we say, in the comedy world, we say we're the last line of defense. The woke meets the wall with stand-up comedy. You can't have woke comedy. It sucks. It's impossible. That's not what's funny.
Rogan's influence in the comedy scene made him a trusted leader for many comics. His podcast had become a more powerful promotional platform than Saturday Night Live, where comedians would double the size of their fan bases after they became a part of his sphere of friends, which has now been dubbed the Rogan Sphere. And his move to Texas also inspired his buddies Tom Segura, Tony Hinchcliffe, Shane Gillis, and many other aspiring comics to move to the city. Tim Dillon was one of the only friends of Rogan who just couldn't help but point out the irony of choosing a place like Austin, Texas as a replacement for LA.
City of Austin, Texas, let's be very honest, is dangerous. The homeless there are more aggressive than I've ever seen them in New York.
Yeah.
There's pockets of it that really do look San Fran-like.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Yeah.
Like as a metropolis, it's bad.
It's pretty
brown.
small.
It's small. It's brown. There's no grass. It's not green. It turns
It's not
brown
green?
for 4 months out of the year. It's over 100 degrees. The lake is vomit colored, and there are brain-eating amoebas that can swim up your nose and kill you within 48 hours. It's rare, but it happens.
Other comedians generally felt like Austin was an unpleasant place to live or visit.
I have no power for like 3 days.
Yeah.
Texas blows.
I didn't know
So, dude, the second you run
back, Shane. Come on.
Just say I went to Austin, and gotta tell you that Austin, that city is a boiling pot of evil goo.
On top of that, critics felt like Austin became a sort of echo chamber for right-wing comedians who saw the mothership as a safe haven from being canceled for their hacky comedy.
I think that it's so effectively tribalized at this point. It really comes down to material. I mean, at what point, it's like whatever they represented in terms of policy, it's not a stretch. It's like they won. Trans people are frightened. They have no ability to get health care anymore, and they're afraid of being alive and have no freedom left. So that's done. When do you stop with the jokes? Like immigrants, okay, well they're being ripped away from their homes, and they're all terrified, and okay, so that's done. When do you stop with the joke?
Right.
I mean, it's one thing to pick on the vulnerable and the marginalized, but I mean, they're down. Yeah. I mean, why do you got to keep hitting them? Unless you're
bro, that's what I'm saying, bro. Like, he literally opened that comedy club and had all of them racist ass comedians come there and have like everything's cool. Like, it's not, bro.
Hack. Now there's a question.
More and more respected comedians have been echoing the same criticism, that the Austin comedy scene is relying too heavily on being anti-woke rather than producing funny material.
There's something about the place that I'm just not...
the place you mean Austin?
Yeah, the mothership Austin, that's all one.
You just mean... So you're talking about just this whole concept of Austin comedy?
Yeah, Austin comedy.
I didn't like the vibe at the mothership. I got in trouble for being in the green room, apparently.
Oh, you did?
I got... A security guard took me into the green room.
Took you right out.
And I was like, hello. And then apparently after I wasn't invited in, so apparently Joe was mad at me. It's the other comedians.
Mm-hmm. You don't like it?
It's very F-word.
Some comedians even feel the need to be sarcastic when they criticize him. Perhaps they fear being blacklisted by the new comedy gatekeeper.
Like, the comedy mothership is so tight-knit.
Right.
And I also heard it's not a fun hang if you're an Austin comic.
What, the mothership?
If you're not, like, in with Rogan and his crew, if you're coming up, it's not like the Cellar. The Cellar, you could sit at the bar and feel awkward. Yeah. I've heard the mothership, you have to get past Navy SEALs to get into the green room.
I love Rogan. I love the club. I think it's perfect, and I don't know what you're talking about.
I have no idea, and every time I go, I feel joy in my heart. Only club that when they go, do you want to come? I go, yes, before they even say, and then I feel joy.
Yeah, and he swung me.
Y'all just don't want to get blacklisted. I see exactly what he's saying, bro. Like, y'all definitely just don't want to get
I'm all in on Trump.
And considering Rogan's power and influence in the world of stand-up, you'd think he was this legendary act. Which brings me to the next key mistake he made, releasing a comedy special in 2024, where he even failed to convince his own fan base that he was actually a funny comedian. When people think about Joe Rogan's comedy career, they usually don't remember the jokes, but they might remember the moment he went on stage and called out Carlos Mencia for stealing them.
You not cheering? Those are cheers. We saw you perform and they like you. And you know what? That's great. I'm honest, bro.
And even though most people don't recall ever laughing at his stand-up, he has included himself into the extremely small group of the elite 250 comedians alive today.
And it's also small, because there's so few of us. And worldwide, there's maybe 500 of us on the planet. You know, you got to be real generous and say 500 because it's really probably about 250.
This wouldn't be as ridiculous if Rogan didn't spend hours ad nauseum explaining the craft and the art behind stand-up comedy. For real comedy fans, one of his most ridiculous moments was when he was explaining the writing process to top comics like Louis C.K.
What I do is I get index cards and I'll actually write the bullet points for each bit and I lay them out on the coffee table in the green room. I know, I remember it.
You got to load it in. You got to be living it.
You got to be like, it's got to be refreshed. The thing that drives me more nutty than anything is like when I forget a tag.
It's a shame.
And then I leave and I'm like, I forgot that part about the guy.
This is like a line cook talking to a 5-star Michelin chef about how they make food. They both make food, but the quality is very different. But after hearing Joe explain the craft for the 1000th time, even his own fans are tired of hearing him try to convince them how important and interesting comedians are.
It's like if you want to be a doctor, you go to college, you get a degree, you go to medical school, you do your residency, there's a pathway. What the is the pathway for being a successful comedian? Your pathway is different than mine. Mine's different than Duncan's or Ari's. We all have different pathways.
A few moments later.
All you have to do is you do open mic nights, you get funny, you build up an act, and then people come to see you, you build up a career, and the next thing you know, you become a successful comedian. That's what happened to you. That's what happened to me.
It seems like over the past few years, Rogan started having a harder time differentiating between the fame he got on the podcast versus his stand-up. But we would see just how much he overestimated his comedic skills in 2024 when he announced his newest special, Burn the Boats. And while he hyped it up as an hour he had been working on for the past 6 years, there's one clip that perfectly summarizes this special. Joe glazing Elon Musk, screaming to make empty material feel bigger than it really was, and not even having a punchline.
He was explaining to me how this rocket ship his company designed is going to move civilization to Mars. He's telling me all the calculations. Halfway through him explaining this, I stopped paying attention. All I'm imagining 4 dudes strapped into a rocket on their way to Mars. Just shh. One guy pulls out a gun, boom, shoots that guy, bang, shoots that guy. Leaves one guy alive going, ah!
Oh, and the deafening silence from the crowd after he absolutely bombs his jokes.
Trans women are women. How about most? You gotta leave room for crazy.
Bro, what's the punchline? He set it up like it was gonna be fire. For the love of God, please just steal jokes. Unfortunately for Rogan, the month following Burn the Boats became a non-stop roast on the belief that he was never qualified to be a professional stand-up comedian. Almost every review online was filled with disappointment or people straight up begging Joe to put the mic down forever. YouTuber The Elephant Graveyard's critique of Rogan's special looms over his career like a dark cloud, leading to the awakening of some of Joe's biggest fans and friends. You won't find any of his comedy buddies talking about how funny Joe's special was. But after this special released, the 2024 presidential election was about to change Rogan's identity forever. The centrist and open-minded guy who built his brand on curiosity and authenticity was starting to look less like a neutral truth seeker and more like someone trapped in his own ideological bubble, leading to his 4th key mistake of letting the Joe Rogan experience get way too politically focused. Rogan has long identified himself as a left-leaning centrist.
Yeah, I think socially I lean more left, like socially, like in terms of like welfare and things along those lines. And, you know, obviously this protected status is driving me crazy. This thing that Trump's doing with children that were born in this country or born in other countries and then brought over here as children, and then they're talking about deporting them. The hard right version of that is despicable. These people that I see online, why didn't they apply for citizenship? Oh, who knows? Maybe because they're 13.
Yeah.
You know, like, were you out there applying for citizenship if you were 13?
He even once said he would never have a policy.
It's crazy how much he changed, bro. Just seeing that clip for so long ago, like, it just show you how different. Like,
Politician on his show because he understood they'd never be as authentic as his buddies.
I'd have requests from all of them.
Really?
Oh yeah, Biden, Warren.
How do you resist
Mayor,
that?
Because I have my friends. I'd rather talk to my friends.
Yeah, I know.
And his political identity made sense considering he would talk about the medicinal value of psychedelics, question government conspiracies, support gay marriage, and be prideful of the Second Amendment all within one episode. He genuinely felt reasonable and relatable to millions of people. But after re-signing with Spotify, this time for $250 million, he started to look and sound more like a wealthy elite trying to cosplay as the common man. That illusion became more obvious after he sat face-to-face with Donald Trump for a multi-hour-long conversation during the presidential campaign trail of 2024. Joe wasn't really challenging Trump on his policies, but rather giving him an open platform to pitch himself to Joe's millions of listeners. Then again, Joe said that he wanted to have Kamala Harris on as well and give her the same exact platform he gave Trump, but he claims they wanted to compromise the integrity of his show.
But she had an opportunity to come here when she was in Texas, and I literally gave them an open invitation. I said, anytime. I said, if she's done at 10 o'clock, we'll come back here at 10 o'clock. But it was very difficult to tie it down, and they wanted to travel. And see, the thing is, like, you can't, if I go somewhere, then there's going to be other people in the room, and they want to control a lot of things, I'm sure. My whole goal with her and with him was just talk, have a conversation like a human being.
With the world feeling more divided than ever, and Rogan seeing record high viewership due to
he definitely did that just because of, bro, I'm telling you.
Trump and Elon Musk on the show, he believed it was time to step out of his centrist identity and use his influence to take a firm stance.
If Trump doesn't win, this is the last election.
I think you're right. And a lot of people are waking up and realize that have been lifelong Democrats. Guys like Bill Ackman, guys like Chamath.
Yeah, exactly.
Tulsi Gabbard switched over to the Republicans. Like, there's a lot of people who their whole life they've been left-wing and they realize, like, I can't do this anymore.
You and I used to be Democrats.
Yeah.
Just a few hours before the election day, Rogan tweeted his endorsement for Trump, citing that Elon Musk was a major influence behind this decision. Joe quickly became the outspoken comic for
Hey, what did Elon Musk mean when he said it's not going to be another election if Trump doesn't win? That type of shit scares
political
me,
justice, using his Instagram partly as a news platform to celebrate achievements of the sitting president. And with a growing network of wealthy and powerful people wanting to jump on his platform, his podcast started to resemble the end of a sitcom, where they ran out of ideas and packed it with celebrity cameos and interviews that didn't fit the older classic JRE everyone liked. He started hosting people like Mark Zuckerberg, venture capitalist Mark Andreessen, and Palantir co-founder Peter Thiel. And while everyone understands that JRE has always hosted people of all backgrounds to come on and talk about anything, it was the way Joe conducted these interviews that left fans disappointed, leading to his fifth key decision of cozying up with billionaires. While the old Joe Rogan built his brand on questioning authority and challenging powerful people, the new version often seemed far more interested in protecting them, because he thinks his billionaire friends are the good ones.
I'm friends now, this is a bizarre thing to say, with multiple billionaires.
Yeah.
I know multiple guys that are billionaires, and they're very nice people.
But you're also friends with the cool billionaires.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
Yeah.
you managed to find the cool ones.
Well, Elon's the coolest.
One of the most devastating episodes to his reputation was when he sat down with Peter Thiel. Peter is a Silicon Valley billionaire who co-founded PayPal and Palantir Technologies. Palantir is a software company that was funded by the CIA's venture capital firm In-Q-Tel. Their software can sift through billions of emails, passport records, surveillance footage, satellite images, cell phone logs, bank transfers around the world with the intent to help the US government prevent future terrorist attacks or soldiers from getting obliterated by IED.
How does PayPal have anything to do with this shit? Like, goddamn.
ease on the battlefield. After they proved how effective their technology was in war zones, they started receiving billions of dollars in defense contracts working with Immigration and Customs Enforcement, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, and the Israeli military.
Palantir is here to disrupt and make the institutions we partner with the very best in the world, and when it's necessary, to scare enemies and on occasion kill them.
From there, Palantir created a new product to service corporate America. The same surveillance logic used for war and counterintelligence was repackaged for hospitals, banks, airlines, and major retailers, helping companies track supply chains, predict shortages, monitor employee behavior, flag fraud, and make decisions using massive amounts of real-time data. During the pandemic, Palantir software was used by governments and health agencies to help manage the outbreak response. We used to make decisions with critical thinking and intuition. Now, Palantir software tells us what decisions to make. And all of that is very important to consider when the company's founder, Peter Thiel, has been very outspoken about this theory that the Antichrist is going to create a new world order, take over the earth, and enslave all humans.
What type of shit? Bro, it's like these people want the world to end, bro. But y'all gotta help me with this YouTube shit, bro. I need to get the fuck out of Virginia, bro. Like,
speculative thesis is that if the Antichrist were to come to power, it would be by talking about Armageddon all the time. And
Peter Thiel, the Antichrist would talk about Armageddon all the time. He'd scare people and then offer to save them.
Yes, it's the 1 Thessalonians 5:3. The slogan of the Antichrist is peace and safety.
What's interesting is that Peter Thiel's fear of the Antichrist sounds more like a projection of what he's doing, because his company sells global surveillance technology to governments that want to monitor its people for the sake of peace and safety. He also had a strange non-answer when asked if he would prefer that the human race survive.
You would prefer the human race to endure, right? You're hesitating.
Yeah, well,
Yes?
I don't know. I would.
This is a long hesitation.
Bro, this shit is so weird, bro. This shit is so weird, bro.
This was Rogan's reaction to that response, by the way.
You ever see that interview where Peter Thiel, they ask him, should the human race survive? And he has like this long pause. It's like, it's a really funny pause. Because if you know Peter, he's a brilliant man, and Peter carefully considers everything before he answers it.
And just to add a cherry on top, Thiel was referred to by Jeffrey Epstein in the files as a great friend, and Epstein personally invested in one of his businesses. Joe Rogan had a wide open opportunity to ask important questions about Palantir's technology, global surveillance, military contracts, and the ethics of building software that helps governments target, control, and kill people, but no, Joe Rogan did not ask a single question about Palantir or the Antichrist. Instead, Peter controlled the entire conversation and acted like he wasn't a player in the corrupt world run by big tech.
I don't know. You know, they're all the Jeffrey Epstein conspiracy theories, which I'm probably too fascinated by because there was some crazy stuff going on that they were able to cover up.
And still are.
Doesn't it, the fact that we're still talking about Jeffrey Epstein, tell us how hard it is to come up with anything else? Do you have a theory on what was Bill Gates' complicity with Epstein?
I think he likes I think he's a man. I think he likes power. He likes monopoly. I mean, he's incredibly effective with Microsoft.
Do you think that he needed Epstein?
I think it's very difficult. Very, very famous, very high-profile person to around. I think it's very difficult.
I find it funny that Joe is talking about this billionaire elite, Epstein, and the CIA without ever mentioning that Thiel himself is involved in all of those areas and does not actually ask any direct question about his personal involvement and experience in those circles and conspiracies. Asking Peter Thiel about conspiracies is like asking the Illuminati if they're real. Joe had on Kurt Metzger shortly after, who tried to convince Joe that Peter Thiel was lying to his face, and Joe immediately rushed to defend his billionaire buddy.
Peter Thiel, I watched you talk to Peter Thiel. I've never seen someone lie so artlessly and autistically in my life.
What did he lie about?
Oh, dude, I'm going to put this out about Epstein Island. Maybe just some guys were cheating on their wives. Yeah, maybe that's all it was, Peter.
See, the thing is, he's a gay guy, and he's not interested in going to that island. So he's probably on the outs. And allegedly, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if he supposedly ever
That's
went.
not the only game in town.
Oh, I'm sure there's gay blackmail, but you can't when
Oh, dude, I'm gonna put this out of bed.
Gonna get on him.
It was only months later, on an episode with Tim Dillon, that Rogan finally came up with some interesting thoughts about Peter Thiel that he should have shared when he was sitting in front of him for 3 hours.
It's what bothers people about this Palantir thing.
The Palantir thing is very odd.
A lot of people feel that this is the precursor to a social credit score, a digital kind of police state, and that it's being done under the guise of.
But you can't when a guy's
should have shared.
Is the precursor to a social credit score, a digital kind of police state, and that it's being done under the guise of security, that you will be safer. Peter Thiel's giving a 4-part lecture on the Antichrist.
Yeah, that seems odd.
4-part. Well, here's what's really wild to me. It's not just one lecture on the Antichrist would be insane. This guy's doing a series.
If you told me there was a movie and there was
This
a guy
dude
who
is
played the
fucking
Antichrist,
crazy,
zoom in on
man.
that image of him.
Yeah.
I would say, oh, is that him? Was that the Antichrist?
Tune in next week for my episode with Peter.
Man, we're gonna go ahead and end this video here, man. Joe Rogan, man, he used to be my favorite podcaster. Now I just can't fuck with him, bro. Like, he just be on some crazy shit. But y'all have a good one. Y'all hit that like button, that sub button, and that hype button, man. Y'all have a good one, man.